HyperX is back with even more cool peripherals, and this time it's for the streamer gang. Good afternoon and welcome to Turbo Tortoise Tech. If you're new here, I'm recently 4-piece warranty Walkie Triple XL, and we've been given the Vision S this time by HyperX. I've really enjoyed their comeback to market. Everything I've used, minus one product so far, has been pretty much 10 out of 10. So I've got very, very high hopes for them and the brand, and HP taking over that from Kingston has done an incredible job to take it from just being like pretty much a headset manufacturer to a full line of branded peripherals. And now the Vision S attacks the webcam segment. And HP, I've tested their 950K, which I think was pretty good, if not just really niche driven with its wide angle lens. And they've gone for that extreme wide angle again, but they've built a literal bunker around a webcam. I mean, this thing is so hard. If you put it in a sock and you try to beat someone to death, you'd go to jail for GBH and blunt force trauma. Anyway, before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's go through what's in the box. You obviously get the webcam, you get a really nice magnetically attached lens cover over here, which can then attach to the back of the camera as well, which I'll show you in a little bit. You get this incredibly nicely braided cable and then a couple of extra manuals. The cable as well is branded with the HyperX insignia so that you know it belongs to your camera. And in a lot of these cases, a lot of these cameras come with true high-end Type-C cables, and normal Type-C cables, you know, the run-of-the-mill dime a dozen ones, don't often give you the full resolution. So it's nice that it's braided and branded that way so that you know exactly which cable you're looking for. Now, the webcam itself is expertly built. The actual construction of this thing, like I said, is ridiculous. It is like the toughest, meanest webcam I've ever tested. When I took it out, I was like, damn, this is a weighty boy. I wouldn't want to have to actually hold this for long periods of time. And to that end, I've actually put a 1/4 inch in the bottom over here for your attachment, or is a 1/8 inch screw input there, so you can attach it to a tripod. The base stand though is one of the best I've ever used. It's got full tilt out of the bottom like that, and then a full swivel on top for the webcam as well. So getting the right angle with this, whether just sitting on top of your monitor, is really, really easy. The inside of it is also rubberized, so it's not going to slip around and go anywhere. And it's very similar to the 950, which I've tested before. Some other nice features on this is this removable lens cap, which then can attach onto the back of the camera and for easy storage. And if you're going to go somewhere, the front is a scratch-proof type of glass, or scratch-resistant, and it should keep the lens area clear for a considerable amount of time. Now, to facilitate this thing going onto the back, they've done a 2-for-1 special over here by moving the Type-C to the bottom. Not only does it remove the pressure of a Type-C coming straight out the back like that, moving it to the bottom, it then also facilitates for that then just clip in on the back like that with a magnetically attached cover. And the overall construction, like I said, this thing is beyond beefy. I would knock it on my head if I didn't think I was going to give myself a concussion. But that's the physical build of it. It does have the Sony sensor, the exact same one as the Elgato. But what about the lens and the performance thereof? Let's jump over to the PC and give it a test. Alrighty, so here we have the HyperX in the Ingenuity software, which gives you actually quite a lot of control. It is the default set of camera controls that you would find in like OBS or in Nvidia Broadcast, but just in a much nicer, easier interface type setup. So we have it in the 4K 30 mode. You might notice with the aperture control, or the speed thereof, that it's noticeably 30 FPS. I'm recording at 1080/60 in OBS with 20 megabit bitrate. So it's not being recorded at the exact, 4K kind of resolution that you would normally see. But you might notice that it is pretty good. Even on 30 FPS with this aperture control, there's not a lot of blur that comes through. It is quite sharp. Now, it's also kind of dark, right? Like half of my face is kind of hidden in shadow, where there's actually some pretty decent lighting happening over there. That's where the backlight compensation comes in. And it is something that I think you're going to need to run by default. The 4K 30 definitely has a better overall sharpness and clarity to it when we compare it though to the 1080p 60. and it'll just pop in like that. Now the 1080p 60, you're going to notice immediately that the aperture is way smoother and that the frame rate and stuff is noticeably better, but it does get a little bit of that like cell shading effect, especially when you move quickly. You'll see that there is a little bit of blur. Mind the helicopter going overhead.
Few moments later.
There is a little bit of blur that comes through with it, and I've got to say that the autofocus does now struggle just a little bit as well. So we kind of want to take it out of the autofocus over here and just set it manually. If we're going to use it on 1080-60, just set it like perfectly over there, and then the performance is pretty good, and it doesn't get that kind of cell shaded effect, not nearly as badly as it did before. The white balance as well is a little bit off by default, and the moment I switch it off, it becomes significantly warmer, and it is in general a bit of a warmer sensor. If I go here into the extremes of the cold, you'll see then it kind of, I go blue dabba da, but the moment I come back, it's already like pretty warm. So when you put on auto, it's weird. You see the color that it creates over there is a little bit odd, but at least you can adjust over here. I mean, go full Mexico or full Iceland. But I found that 4100-ish was about the most natural looking, if not a little bit pinky. You can see kind of on the skin. But once again, if we go back to 4K, let's give it a second while it adjusts. There we go. Then it does the 4K, the clarity is like significantly better than the 1080p 60, and it does feel like it's been set up mostly to be used in this sort of mode and give you this extremely wide angle lens. It does have automatic framing over here, so if you want to get in a little bit closer, and if I just tilt this down quickly, sorry for any seasickness that you might experience with this bouncing over here of the image, but you can then frame it quite easily and then get very close up. I'm ready for my close up, Mr. Director, over there. Now I'm going to switch over the scene to the full screen scene and then mod everything in here once again live and active so you can see it on full screen. So this is now the 4K 30 completely unedited settings. It's completely default right now, and it does actually, when you take it raw into OBS, I think it gives a bit of a better performance than when you are putting it through the Ingenuity software. I've got to be honest, I just set everything back to default over there, and I'd honestly rather just modify it directly within OBS in this instance. The only real thing that I think you need to change is some of the backlight comp. Just turning that on, it does get a little bit fuzzy though, right? So what we can do to solve that is just add a touch of gain into the proceeding over there, and then that gives like the most natural, like effective look overall, I would say, to the two proceedings over here. You can also zoom from within OBS, so if you want to change your framing, you can do it with the camera control in OBS. As you can see, I'm actively changing it over there. There's a low light compensation tick box, but it doesn't really make any difference in this instance. But there we have like now a very, very nice picture. And if I take it one step further and I put it into Nvidia Broadcast, then I can kill my background as well. Now this is now the enhanced Nvidia Broadcast picture that you can expect from this camera. I will show you 1080p 60 as well, but like I said, this is definitely set up for its 4K 30, and now the detailing and lighting and stuff is pretty good. The autofocus, once again, is a little bit too active. It needs to just be kind of toned down, but the fact that you can just modify it quite easily or do the hand maneuver where you try and get it to focus like that, it will then refocus. But I would suggest you set that focus on manually rather than leaving it in the automatic mode. But now the quality and the picture that you're getting out of this is pretty damn good. And like I say, if I just go one tick background removal, then you've got a very nice sort of green screened out effect. But like I say, I feel like it very much is limited to the 4K 30, and I'm going to show you why. I'm going to do a switch over now. It's probably going to drop and I'll have to restart the recording. Yep, there it goes.
12 seconds later.
Now we're on 1080p 60. You're going to notice that there is that kind of cell shading effect, which does make me look like a Borderlands character, which is kind of cool. But on full screen, it's not really what it's made to do. I just getting that feeling from the kind of setup with it. And if I go to my desktop picture over here, you can see where I am in the bottom section over here like this. It is absolutely fantastic. So in the smaller kind of streamer type effect where you're going to have a border or a frame around your picture, then it is going to give you really good performance there. But I just feel like it's been made more centered around its 4K 30 performance than it is around the 1080p 60. Anyway, back to the studio. And so I think those tests are pretty self-explanatory. The 4K 30 FPS is definitely its niche. That extreme wide angle that it creates is also its niche. It's less of a single person camera as compared to giving a very wide open effect. I do kind of like it though, because it puts itself into its own niche. I do wish though that the 1080p 60 performance was a little bit better, because a lot of us like that sort of fluid type of setup. So I think they need to work a little bit on their lens, because like I said, this has got the exact same sensor that you find in the Elgato Facecam. I have the original Brio though as well, and I did test that before I tested this, and honestly, they're kind of comparable. So the price point at 4,500 Rand for this, you're really buying into the extra features. And I don't know if that's enough to just carry that price. The Facecam also comes through cheaper. So if you're getting it for just a streaming setup, it's probably going to be a little bit better. But if you're looking at it for like a conferencing type setup, or you need a wide open angle lens, the way that it can create, as you saw, it's the one that's been able to capture the most of the current studio setup, then this will do that job pretty damn well. Putting it through things like Nvidia Broadcast and directly into OBS without having to use the Ingenuity software is nice. And for apps that don't have that sort of function, having the Ingenuity software is kind of nice. So out of 10, what I give it, probably a solid 8. I think that the price point needs to come down somewhat so that it's more comparable to some of the other products in market. And I also think that they, like I said, they just need to work on this lens a little bit so that you don't get as much graininess or cell shading type effects from dropping the resolution to 1080/60. But if you want to use wide angle and the 4K, then it's going to do an incredible job thereon. Anywho, that's all I have for you on the HyperX Vision S. If you've enjoyed this review, please do hit us up with a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the flip side.
I could be the one you talk to when you